Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is without a doubt my favorite movie that has come out within the past year. Already a fan of the first one, I absolutely was blown away by just how good this one was. From the beautiful animation to the amazing writing of themes like anxiety that definitely made me cry a few times. And of course, me being the mythology and folklore nerd that I am, I was freaking out with all the Hispanic and Latin American references, which I actually wasn't expecting much, being in the Shrek cinematic universe. I can't believe I just called it that, but that's the world we live in now, I guess. Although, despite all the Spanish, Puss in Boots actually has its origins in Italy, El Gato con Glis de Valli, in the early 1550s. In this story, an old miller dies, leaving the mill to his oldest son, a donkey to his second son, and finally a cat to the third and youngest son, whose name changes from story to story, but we'll just call him Theo. Of course, Theo wasn't very happy that all he got was a cat, but then the cat just casually started speaking, telling him not to worry before strapping up in some boots and going off to catch some rabbits, birds, and game, and presenting them to the freaking king, saying that he was sent by Theo. Earning the king's respect and noticing the princess was quite single, Puss came up with a plan to set her up with Theo. In a series of trickery and shenanigans, Puss eventually goes into a castle of an ogre who could shapeshift. Puss was all like, I bet you can't even turn into a mouse. And so, of course, the ogre did. And being the cat that he is, Puss ate him up right away and told the king, hey, this is our super cool castle that we definitely always had. The king, impressed, allowed his daughter to marry Theo, and Puss spent the rest of his days rich as a king. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect there to be a donkey and ogre in this story, but now it makes so much sense. The story of Puss in Boots spread all across Europe and was adapted into a French collection of fairy tales, which featured the story of Mother Goose and the Golden Egg, which again makes a lot of sense, serving as inspiration for the first Puss in Boots movie, which is really cool. The version of the trickster feline that we all know and love today was introduced to us in the second Shrek movie, which of course a lot of you already know. While creating the character, the staff used their own cats as inspiration and decided to go for a more Spanish vibe rather than the original Italian, and ended up casting Antonio Banderas for the role because of his Spanish accent. Antonio Banderas also happened to have played in the Zorro movies, which I absolutely adore, and the animators clearly took that as inspiration as well. This Puss just screams Zorro, from the saber and cape to the engraving of his first initial, and as a major Zorro fan myself, I absolutely love this version of Puss. And honestly, this is as close to another Zorro movie that we can get right now. Although it's kind of funny how while the character of Zorro is canonically of Spanish heritage, the entire series is set in 17th century California, and sometimes that's Mexico era California, sometimes that's US era California. So yeah, both Puss and Zorro's nationalities are pretty complex. But that's not where all the Hispanic references stop. As soon as The Last Wish's main villain appeared on screen with his haunting whistling, I literally gasped with excitement knowing exactly who this guy was. The creepy wolfman, also known as Death, spends the whole movie stalking Puss, sending him into panic attacks. Of course, since he is Death itself, it makes sense that he has his black hood and sights, which are iconic symbols of death since like forever. It's also really fitting that he's a wolf because of the whole dogs chasing cats thing. So yeah, that's a nice touch. All of these are cool characteristics, but I was really interested in his whistling, which is a defining aspect of the South American monster El Cibon. El Cibon was originally a young man, and in some versions, he's a spoiled brat who killed his father for not being able to hunt his favorite venison for dinner. And in other versions, he kills his father as revenge for him killing his lover. Man, talk about family dynamics. Regardless of why El Cibon killed his father, he did, and his grandfather definitely wasn't very happy about this. He tied El Cibon up to a tree, torturing him and cleaning his wounds with alcohol. Afterwards, the grandfather cursed him, throwing him into the woods full of rabid dogs to wander for eternity, with nothing but a sack full of his father's bones. To this day, borrachos or drunkards, or any other unfortunate souls who wander alone at night, may hear the rising and lowering notes of El Cibon's whistles. At first, they are ear-piercingly loud, before fading quieter and quieter. At this point, you may think you're safe, but in truth, the quieter the whistles are, the closer he is to you. And before you realize it, it's already too late. I absolutely love that they added this in the movie, making it fit perfectly in the Latin/Hispanic setting. Also, I should mention that while showing this movie to my mom, she reminded me about the Cadejo, which according to Latin American legend, is a dog or wolf you can run into while lost in the forest. Usually a white Cadejo will guide you back home safely, while a black Cadejo with red eyes and a horrible stench will straight up just kill you. although sometimes the roles are flipped, where the white Cadejo is evil and the black Cadejo is good. It all depends on who's telling the story. And it's interesting how Death is a white wolf with red eyes. Plus, there's a second, much more nice dog in the story as well. Although Perito being a Cadejo might be stretching it at this point. Puss in Boots has gone from an Italian story compiled alongside French fairy tales and adapted into an American movie now inspired by Spanish and Latin American characters and folklore. Which is a lot, but I think it's pretty cool. And The Last Wish is an absolute masterpiece of a movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend you do. Just think about it.